Welcome to Brilliance on the Spectrum with your host, Robin Williams. Today's guests are special needs educator Jennifer Hulme and Linda Rossi Gilmartin.
Well, welcome to Brilliance on the Spectrum. This is so exciting. I'm Robin Williams, and I am so pleased to announce this amazing show where we're taking and giving a megaphone and shining a bright light on all things positive and moving in a forward direction for our diverse, abled, and underserved. And I'd like to introduce our wonderful people today. Now, I want to get the names right. Jennifer Hulme, and she's all the way in Missouri, and then all the way in the Big Apple, we've got our Linda Rossi, and I can't say your other last name very well.
So Linda Rossi Gilmartin.
Gilmartin. I always want to say something different. I want to make it really fancy. Gilmartin. So why don't we start? Let's be real simple. Why don't you go ahead, Linda, and tell us who you are and what you do?
Okay, wonderful. So I'm Linda Rossi Gilmartin. I'm here in New York, and I am a special educator. I have been for several decades. Started out in general ed, and then my mid-30s, life changed for me, and I ended up with the special needs population, which changed my life wonderfully. And I did the homebound, medically fragile for a while, and then landed in the high school. So
tell us what homebound is.
So these are medically fragile individuals that either don't attend school at all or attend school part-time. So I was their home teacher. So I would collaborate with whoever their teacher would have been at school, and I brought home instruction to them. The goal was always to get them to school, even if it was 2 days a week, half a day. And for 3 out of 4 of my kids, we did do that, but for some of them, that was not possible. They were totally on home instruction. So that is what changed my life. That's what brought me to this wonderful population that I'm privileged to be a part of, and led me then to the high school. One of the boys, we were trying to at least get him to go to the high school 2 days a week. I ended up working there full time and taking him with me. So that's how I ended up at the high school setting. And I have the privilege of not only educating these teenagers at our high school with academics, individualized academics, but to help them prepare for post-graduation. And that's how Jennifer and I, we have that link in common, because I am kind of directing parents and students to the services that could be available to them post-graduation for, productive life, dignity and quality of life. That's our mantra. And Jennifer is, she's the one that has those type of services. So that's where we have that really nice link. But so that is what I do. I also do some other things. I teach college, and I teach future special ed teachers. So I'm preparing the next generation.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Teaching college?
Yeah. So when you have students that are going to be working into the field.
Yeah. So I've been teaching college for about 5 years now, and most of the courses that I teach are to teach future special ed teachers. Some courses are, teaching even general ed teachers.
So what would the course titles be?
So Intro to Special Ed, Behavior Management. I also do an adolescent psych class. My favorite class, which I'm doing now, I do it in the summer session, is teaching IEP writing. I love that. The whole RTI process, writing the IEP, and transition planning. So I'm teaching future teachers how to help their teenagers transition post-graduation.
Now, what's your ages that you're working with? Now, I know it's teenagers and young adults, but there must be like what is it, like 13 to 25 or?
It's 14 to 21.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So 14 to 21 is your.
Yeah, I can get them as early as 14, and they can stay till 21. They don't always. It's individual. It depends. It depends on how the program's working for them, what might be better for them, if they left high school instead of staying. So it's very individual, and it's collaboration.
Okay, now I'm going to ask Jennifer some questions. So Miss Jennifer, why don't you do the same? Introduce yourself and tell me what you do.
Okay, so my name is Jennifer Hulme, and I am the executive director for Hulme Resources, which is a nonprofit based out of the Kansas City, Missouri area, but we have kind of spread out a little bit and looking to kind of spread our wings. But we are contracted with the Department of Mental Health in Missouri to provide uh, a long list of Medicaid waiver services. So that would be for anybody who has like an intellectual or developmental disability are eligible for our services through that. But what we're also finding is a lot of different funding streams that we can also provide our services through to try and kind of extend them to other areas. As a matter of fact, we just got our license to practice business in New York.
Yes.
So Miss Linda's state, and she is also on our board of directors. So we're going to try and partner together to try and come up with some things to kind of work across the country in terms of what is needed out that way too. So that's the big thing. We really focus on transition planning also. And one of our biggest focus right now is making sure that people are educated about that alternatives to guardianship.
Okay.
So that guardianship may not be the best fit for everybody. And to make sure that they have the correct information,
Right.
the most updated information, so they can make an informed decision on whether they could do some of those other alternatives.
Now, so let's explain to the audience this transitioning. So we're talking about teenagers as they're graduating or as they're moving on to their next level, whatever kind of schooling they were in, to becoming into adulthood.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's a big part of the transitioning, correct?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And
then in transitioning, once that happens, what's kind of the first thing that you would come in to do to help someone? Because I know with a lot of these parents have, really struggled to get their kids through school. And now they're there, but they're like, oh no, now what do we do?
well, part of what I do as soon as they're in ninth grade is make sure that they are connected with any state services that they might be able to use. And that process can be very daunting. And I found through going to other meetings in my county that not a lot of parents even know what's out there or how to apply or anything like that. And so my job is to put them in that direction, make sure when we start the process, we get the IEP out there. It's an application they fill out. We submit an IEP, a current psychoed eval, and we start the process rolling. And that is the very tip of the iceberg. And that's what prompted me then, which is how we met, to start that Facebook group, because
Right.
I said, oh my goodness, we have to get information out there on that parents should know that there are state services out there and how to begin the process, to get them into their child's life as early as possible. So this way, by the time they are graduating high school, it's all in place. And at that final meeting, we're saying, okay, and now they're going to go here. If you don't do that, it's a lot harder to find, something productive after high school. And that's my passion, that they are doing something productive and meaningful
Right.
high school.
They're not stagnating.
Not staying home. No.
Right.
That's heartbreak. Yeah.
Right. Well, I've learned that the five senses, when you fortify the five senses, that's when you learn the best, right? So
Yeah.
getting them outside, getting them involved, having them be part of the processes and all this. Now, so California, the independent, I always forget how they call that, where that you can get your own team and get monies for your goals, for your job, for your career. For example, there's a very bright Aspie who works for Trader Joe's, and he's the traveling autistic. He's so fun. He's independent, travels on his own, does his own little video, but he would like to be able to make a living at it. And so I facilitated him to meet some people to be able to get that paperwork like you talk about. And your site is wonderful. Your page has so many resources on it. So why don't you tell me, Jennifer, if I may, Jen, why don't you tell me, Jen, the connection between you and Linda and how you see this working in New York and then being able to help emulate this in every county across the United States.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's very true because it's not just a Missouri thing and it's not just a New York thing. Every single state, anybody that you talk to are running into the same roadblocks. And it's that parent of a student that's, between 14 and let's say 22, 23, they might be out of school, but they have slipped through the cracks. And so the thing is what do we do to fix that? So one thing that Linda and I talk about a lot is, okay, COVID was horrible, but one thing that COVID has opened up opportunities for is that virtual kind of connection, to be able to, like, if you would have said 5 years ago that we were doing a business from our home and it's like a national business where we have licenses in multiple states to do business, people would have thought we were nuts and it was like a big
Right.
scam.
Right.
Now it's not. So Linda and I have talked about for quite a while to collaborate, maybe starting off with the school district that she works at, to be able to find some funding. And I think we've kind of tapped into some of that. You were mentioning, I think maybe Robin, you were talking about like maybe self-directed services.
Yes, yes.
California. So in New York, they have the same type of program. It looks a little different. California has a wonderful self-directed program.
Yeah.
So does New York. Missouri needs some
Not
work.
so much.
But anyway, we'll just leave it at that. But so within that self-directed program, there's chunks of money that you can use for like training for like the non-paid caregivers and things like that. And so we're really trying to work with the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. Is that correct,
Yes,
Linda?
yeah.
Did I get
In New
that
York,
right?
it's OPWDD. Yeah, Office of Persons.
Yeah, all the acronyms.
Yeah.
So out here, everybody just talks about regional center.
Right. And it's the same thing. I mean, we have the regional office here. So what I'm finding is each state, if you do self-directed, has kind of that chunk of money set aside for similar things. And so
Kind of
that
like self-determination.
Yeah.
Is it like
yeah,
self-determination?
they call it
Yeah.
self-determination.
Goes by any other name. Yep.
Yeah. And so, there's that money it's not very much, but it's enough to provide for an agency to provide kind of some consultation in terms of what the next steps are. So that's really what we're trying to do. So we can work one-on-one with the families. Here in Missouri, I mean, we work with people across the state virtually to help them fill out applications, and we make ourselves very familiar with whatever state we're working with. So, although New York has its own programs and everything, really it's the kind of same thing. So we would help families fill out those applications, find the proper contacts on who to talk to for the next steps, and kind of help advocate to kind of push that process, because a lot of times the process just stalls. And so you're kind of stuck then. And so to keep that process going, to find out where the roadblocks are. I also like to refer to myself as the loophole queen. So it's legal, it's all legal, but I'm always finding loopholes within the system to make it work for what it is that they need, where they're normally told, no, you can't do that. Then we're like, well, we're going to find a way. And so
you're a solutions provider.
Very much, very much.
Both of you, solutions provider.
Yeah.
So let me ask you ladies this. So I would like to hear, I mean, I've looked up you guys and I've seen lots of stuff online, but I want to hear personally out of your mouths, what is the reason that you keep doing this? What happened in your life? What instance happened where you knew, like Linda was saying, I realized my calling, I'm where I need to be. What was the instance what happened? What, if you can give me an example of how that transitioned for you?
Well, the beginning of it wasn't even something I chose. I had taught sixth grade general ed for many years before my daughters were born. And then I took off a little bit when they were babies, when they were little. And when I went back to substitute. And when in subbing, a coordinator had said to me, would you like to take on a homebound student? And I thought, well, It's not what I'm trained, really trained for, but I'll give it a try. And I liked it. And then they gave me another one. And I actually said, when they gave me the second one, I'm really not qualified. This is really not for me. I'm really not. Well, P.S. 8 years later, stayed with them and realized I fell in love with it. And then,
So that's what I was getting at. Was there like a moment when you went and something happened that you saw where you were benefiting this person and you went, okay, this is my calling?
yeah, you just
like a personal experience.
Yeah, you at some point I just said, this is where I need to be. I remember sitting somewhere in there where I was going to go to the high school and saying, this is where I need to be. And it's funny because my father said it to me many years. I mean, I'm teaching since 1983. I
Right.
started college in 1983. So he said to me back then, you need to get your degree in special ed too. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's not what I'm doing. And then I remember all those years later, he had passed since then, and being, thank you, Daddy. You knew even way back then, even
Sure.
before special ed was what it is now. So he was kind of ahead of his time. And yeah, I do remember that moment sitting in the classroom when we were going to transition this boy to spend time in the school, thinking, this is where I need to be. This is where I'm supposed to be. And and I'm still just as passionate about it as I was
Now, what
decades
about
ago.
you, Jennifer?
Well, my my career is very sorted, so to speak. I started off, my degree actually is in special ed, so I taught special ed. But I always tell people I have done everything in any way, shape, form in the business that you could possibly think of. I've done,
You have
special
to
ed.
plug your book, Jennifer.
Oh yeah,
Her book is
so
very good. Her book is
Please
very
talk
good.
about that. I would love. And what's the title?
So it's called Confessions of a Social Service Rebel,
Oh,
and
I
it
love it.
really does kind of. It's very chronological. It's a short read, so it's not like a dry read. It's kind of humorous in some ways and
Yes.
upsetting in others, but it really talks about like that 30 years of experience and the things that I ran into that were not so pretty, and the injustices that had
Right.
gone on and still go on to this day, to the point where like the last job, I say the last real job in terms of like a corporation type place that I worked for, I literally got up and just walked out, and I had never
Wow.
done that with a job before. And I was like, I am done. 30 years. I'm just done working in this field. Clearly it's something with me, like there's a problem with me. And what I found out as I took a little time to reflect on it is, I could kind of help in my own way if I could start my own thing and kind of, again, work through those systems for families to make sure that these things don't happen to them, as much as we can. So that's really what we do. We kind of do a little bit of everything, but it's really that, to make sure that people are getting what they need, no matter what. It's not
Right.
the case manager's job to say no. It's not, it's, if you need it, you ask for it and we'll find a way to get it. And that really is the most, I mean, it's taken 30 years, but that's kind of the defining moment when you see that you can actually help families make that change. You don't have a higher up slapping your hand because you said or did something that was gonna, step on somebody's toes. Like if I do that now, I'm just yelling at myself because I don't have like a higher up to yell at me. So
Right. So
it
now
makes
let
it
me
much
ask you
easier.
guys to tell me one of your crowning cherry stories. Like I worked with this person, they were in this position, and now they're like, they don't even need me anymore, kind of thing. Like, do you have a personal story of one of your clients or one of your students that just really rose above and shined based on what you all did for them?
I'm going to talk about the girl that, because I know I have permission to talk about her. I won't use her name, but I use her in my book.
Your book too, yep.
Yes,
Plug it.
say your
Yeah,
say
but
the title.
that's why I know I have permission to talk about her. But
What's the title of your book?
transitioning special needs teenagers.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. But she came to me at 14 years old, and a lot of different issues and a lot of learned helplessness. But it's not just my crowning moment, though. It was that mother that went home and did the hard work too. And together, because she trusted me, together, this girl that came to me at 14 years old with, I can't do this, I can't do that, with the help of her mother and some hard love at school, walked out of my classroom many times going, I don't like you, Miss G. And I would go, okay. And then she'd go home and tell her mother, I don't like Miss G. And she would say, good, then Miss G's doing her job.
I love it.
So, and because of all that hard work, I know that she's in a day program. She works part-time. She has a boyfriend. She has a very happy life. And
Aw.
I've used that story with other parents when I've come up against, and I always will preface that I have not walked in the shoes of those parents. So I always step back from judgment with that. I have not walked in their shoes, but I through the years I've learned what can work, potentially
Right.
work, and I use that story, and I use more specific examples that I'm able to use
Sure.
here. But
It's a happy
and I said
story,
it
a lot of hope.
can work, no matter what the disability,
Sure.
it can have that
Right.
freedom.
It's really good to have those stories of hope. That's
Yeah.
the thing that can help people, I think, move forward, because when they're so frustrated and then they can hear a story like yours. And now your turn, Miss Jennifer.
Well, I have one that's very recent, still kind of ongoing, but it really does kind of paint a really good picture of what can happen when, everybody kind of comes together and gets creative.
Right.
But there's a girl who she just graduated, and when I started working with them a year ago, the dad was definitely going to go for guardianship, no question about it. She's going to stay home, maybe go to community college. And so we kind of started gradually having those conversations, because like Linda said, I mean, even at 17 is to me is kind of late, but at least we had a year to kind of plan it out. And it turns out like this girl's a go-getter. She wants to be a journalist. So she applied for these schools. She has excellent grades. She got accepted to a very large university in Missouri, but it's across the state.
Oh,
and
no.
so then we're like, okay, now what? So we have really put together a good unique use of those waiver services to fit what it is she needs. We use a lot of the self-directed, and so she's going to be able to go and live on campus to
Oh,
the
so
point
she's
where
going to go and live there.
yeah, and she's total care. I mean, she needs 24/7 care, but we are putting these things into place to help her get to that point. And luckily her family is very supportive, so that obviously helps. But he decided against the guardianship because we did the consultation with that, and so he's doing power of attorney right now, and sooner or later that'll probably fade off too. So she's going to school with all her rights. She's not being stripped of any rights, and she has just such a bright future ahead of her. It's really exciting.
That's so happy. And see, those are the kind of stories I love. We have to really keep shining a bright light on all the success in what I like to call my demographic. I'm not sure if Miss Linda told you, but I'm on the spectrum, and I have worked for years to become mainstream. As a matter of fact, it's only in the last few years that I've been working jobs with people. So I'm this really bright, high IQ, too smart for my own good girl who could always get a job. I could create my own business, and I always made it happen for myself. But when I went out and tried to work with other people, it didn't always work. I'm a know-it-all, and I know better, and I didn't know how to listen clearly. But I received a lot of neurofield treatments and psychotherapy from Dr. Tiffany Thompson here in Santa Barbara, and Dr. Nick Dogers, who created neurofield. And they really helped me to learn how to become mainstream. Not only did they help my brain calm down and take away all the pictures, so now I can focus on your words and hear needs, but some pretty phenomenal things happened in that journey. And I've learned that it's people like you that are the true heroes. And I get all teary when I talk about this. My daddy is my hero. He believed in me. My grandparents believed in me. My mother did. As a matter of fact, Linda, did you ever get a set of my books?
Yes, I have them.
Okay, so that little book that I wrote at age 7, Little Edmund's Triumph, which is all over the world, literally wrote that at age 7, right? This crazy little girl who could talk. But having these people come into my world now, like my message is out there, like it's getting out there in even a bigger way now. And obviously, once this takes off, then everyone's going to be looking for that book. Oh gosh, do I still have her book? You know. But no matter the challenge. So I became my own hero, saved my own life because no one else was going to. My parents tried, everyone tried. I kept standing in everyone's way. And then I got that breakthrough and realized, wow, I do need people. I don't need to be alone. I don't have to try to fight on my own anymore. And so I just would like to, again, you guys are true heroes of this movement. And please tell me, both of you, Linda, you go first. Who's your hero and who inspires you to continue?
My parents. My father was a teacher, and I saw what he did in his career, different than mine, but always teaching that as a teacher, we have the privilege of being the inner voice for our students, and that inner voice can raise a student or crush a student.
Right.
So to always be cognizant that, and we're human, there's times that, that I have to reflect and go, that wasn't my best moment. But those, I keep his personality in my heart, to always be mindful of that. And I do teach my college students that we become their inner voice. And that's what prompts me to continue and stay passionate, that it's just a privilege to be in this profession. And I'll look at my students sometimes, in a different setting, like they went to a dance last week and I'm watching them. I'm like, this is such a privilege to be a part of their lives, and be a part of their future. Yeah. So yeah,
Oh,
but
that's
I
beautiful.
get that from my parents and my
So
father.
Miss Jennifer, who's your hero?
I think my hero, and I think my answer probably has changed, in the past few years, but now I really feel like the families and the parents that we work with are really to me the true heroes, because we're talking to them usually when they have already had, this child in their life for 18 years, and they're talking about, still wanting to do X, Y, and Z for them and all this stuff that they've done already. I mean, just sometimes I go home and I just start bawling for being so gosh darn selfish, because I have children, but they don't have any, disability or diagnosis or anything. And so here I am complaining because my kid doesn't pick up his room, or I find a 3-week-old piece of pizza. But
mom hasn't found that from their teenage sons,
right. But it's like the things that they have to go through on a daily basis, and then have a smile on their face like every time that we see them. It's just, to me, I just definitely have so much respect for families, the caregivers, and most of them are good.
Right.
Sometimes there's those bad eggs, the caregivers who put their time and effort in. To me, those are the heroes.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I agree. I think the parents that stick with it, I'm fortunate that I was able to find a bread and butter job for right now, but I'm working at a place where people are forgotten. It's called Stepping Stones Resource, and most of them don't have families, and they're bused from a board and care to a program to a doctor's appointment or what have you. They're all on really heavy medications, and it's kind of sad. This is what happens when they close all the hospitals, right? When they close the behavioral health and mental facilities. And so, it's very challenging. And every day I come home, I thank the Lord for, even I have a son that's not doing good, that's going to be incarcerated for a while. He's mentally ill, but the blessing is that now that this has happened to him, he's admitting his problems and he's trying to he's trying to fix it. Right. So some people have to really hit super rock bottom, but I count even with that in my life, I count my blessings. I have another son who's amazing. I have many people in my world that I can go to, or I can kind of vent or just have fun or just kind of forget about my job or forget about the fact that I am also on the spectrum because I'm much more mainstream, and I feel very blessed and fortunate. And so when I go to work, then I have a fresh, and I know that they appreciate and they're so grateful to have someone like me come in there to be a bright light. And so, yeah, it's really important. We all have to kind of count our blessings and realize what we have, and not focus on the negative. So, eliminate the negative, accentuate the positive. And I think you two are pretty much the epitome of that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And so, okay, I would like to end this with you both giving me, so if I'm in the elevator, shine brightly so others may have a lighted path. What is it that your 30 seconds, what would you want to leave somebody with?
Dignity and quality of life. That's what I want for my students. Dignity and quality of life.
And you, Jennifer?
I think for me, it's to never, ever settle for bare minimum. Don't settle for bare minimum.
There you go. I always tell people to shoot for giant and settle for huge.
Right. I like that.
Oh, this is wonderful. Well, ladies, thank you so much for supporting my podcast. And I like to ask all of my guests to send me emails of people that would be interested, send them the links, show them what we're doing, and let them be an amazing part of the positive wave of change that this world is starving for.
Yes.
And with that being said, shine brightly so others may have a lighted path.
Thank you so much, Robin. This was an honor.
And Linda, just real quick, just thank you so much for always just touching base with me and taking me seriously for face value, because I'm a big talker and stuff, but I'm also actions, and it took a while, and COVID really did a number, but here we are. And we've got Chef Rock back there helping us to make this shine. So when the links are done, you'll get them. And thank you again, ladies. And I am excited. And by the way, I would like to get you a set of books before I run out, Miss Jennifer. And both of you, I want you to autograph me a book too, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. All right, we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.